I'm Jessica Kellgren-Fozard. Welcome to the last in my series of videos focusing on captions on YouTube and their importance in celebration of International Week of the Deaf. In the first video, I went through what captions are and why they're useful. The second video was a quick breakdown of how to actually add those captions to YouTube videos. And the third was a run through of captioning do's and don'ts. But in this video, I'm going to explain the secret world of captions, what these things actually mean, and a few YouTube tricks to give you a better experience as a viewer. Welcome to the secret world of captions. Unlike subtitles, captions aren't just dialogue written on the screen. If you're British and really confused, we call both captions and subtitles subtitles because it's a thing. They also need to give some clue about what those words actually mean. I've collated this glossary from the many realms of the internet, including the BBC guidelines for best practice in online captioning. These are not the be-all and end-all rules of captioning, however. If there are any captioning rules or quirks you think I've missed, then please do leave them in the comments down below. There are, of course, exceptions to every rule, and these will be different in different countries. I'm actually really intrigued to learn about captioning in other languages, so if you are from a different country and English is not the language that you use, please do let me know the kind of captioning practices that you have in your country. As I told you in the previous video, 80% of the people who use captions are hearing and 20% are deaf or hard of hearing. But if I say, "It's so great that it rained all weekend," or "It's so great that it rained all weekend," we all know what I'm trying to say. The way you use captions is just as important as having them in the first place, because alternatives like plugging in earphones or waiting till you're not in a crowded, noisy space just don't exist for that 20%. And that's a really huge demographic to exclude. So, let me help you decode the language of captions and help you make the best ones you possibly can. I shall start with the exciting questions, like how to swear in captions. You already know the answer to this one. Just mash a load of symbols together. Like these, preferably with the same number of characters as the swear word you're trying to replace. That's a Grawlix. They're comical and nonsensical. But alternatively, if you're not just trying to amuse your viewer, but instead escape the censors, algorithm. Simply write the first and last letters of the word and use stars in between. Asterisks. Like so. Narration. When used on TV or streaming services, narration is usually italicized. However, we are talking about YouTube, where you can't control such a thing, unless of course you've already created a file off-site and then uploading it using the upload a file feature, which I told you about in video 2, which you definitely watched. If you have a YouTube video that involves a narrator or a voiceover, best practice would probably be to name this with narrator at the start of whatever they're saying, and then their words. Which leads to change of speaker. Again, this can be done just by naming the voices at the start of their speech and then shortening them to just an initial if they continue to be back and forth. You could also use 3 greater than symbols, but I think the tidiest is just to use a hyphen. Words you can't hear. So you're transcribing your vlog or someone else's, and there's the sentence that no matter how many times you bump up the volume and replay, you just cannot get. Simply use brackets indistinct or brackets unclear style. Captions display dialogue, sound effects and music, but also give a little bit of information about them. For example, confused, hungry yelling, lively goth music, or creepy door knock. Song lyrics are delimited by either a musical note or the pound sign. That's not the sterling sign, it's this thing. Also known as the number sign or the hash sign, and now the hashtag. Forever. Put it at the start and end of the line. For a hashtag, use the word hashtag, not the symbol, because the person watching it may also believe that that symbol donates music, so they're going to get very confused. Although they are on the internet, they've managed to find their way here, so maybe not. But to save any confusion, just, write it out in full. Oh, however, with the @ symbol, you should use the @ symbol, because apparently that's less confusing. Puns. This will be obvious once you get it, but words don't always make sense if you've never heard words. Just because two words rhyme doesn't mean they look like they do. A double meaning of a sound isn't funny when you have to choose one of those options to then write down in the captions. There's just no joke there. So, the best thing to do in that case is to write down the two things or the three things it could be and then put a slash in between. Rhetorical questions. In the same mode as sarcasm, either write out rhetorical or use the brackets, question mark, brackets, with no space between the last word and that bracket. Incredulity. She said what? If you're not sure whether to put a question mark or an exclamation mark, put both. Use caps to indicate when a word is stressed. Probably not that much. But, don't overuse it either. You can also use it to indicate when a word is shouted or screamed. Sorry, I didn't actually want to scream that. There's a puppy asleep on my lap, so. Just put whisper at the front of the sentence, in caps, because it's direction, and then a colon, and then the words. Or you can always use brackets to indicate it's on the side. Accents. If you suddenly say a sentence in a different accent, she says, not even trying, or you want to make a point of where someone else in your video is from, perhaps with a really strong southern accent, use a label before the sentence. I suppose mine's going to say RP, isn't it? Dramatic effect. If the joke is that what you're saying makes no sense, then type it out so it makes no sense. But if the joke is the way that it's said, then just write that as well. Like slurred or high-pitched. For a pause within a sentence, leave 3 dots immediately following the pause. Then continue immediately afterwards without leaving a space. Punchlines! Do actually put the punchline in a different subtitle so I won't accidentally read it before I've read the setup. Thank you! Music. Label any music you've added in post-production with music in capital letters. Then add the name of the song along with the artist if you know it. If it's more mood music, like creepy Halloween time, then use a sound effect label, eerie music. And a final grammar point, sound labels describe sounds alone. They are not stage directions. If I can see you shut the door, just write door shuts, not I shut the door. And that's all I have for you, although this is in no way exhaustive. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've learnt a lot. If you're new to my channel, then please subscribe. Come and have a look at the other types of content I make. It would be great if we could get all YouTubers to caption their videos, so please share this series of videos with your favourites and give love to these creators who are already captioning their stuff and just generally being amazing.